In my last video, we stopped with the removal of the camshaft cover. What I've done in the meantime is I've actually taken everything loose, made everything loose, the head's loose, the water pump's been off, the front pulley's been off, and the oil pan's been off. And then I sort of stuck things back together so I knew there wouldn't be any interference making a video. Next thing we're going to do right now is to remove this front pulley. And one of the things I should point out is that it has, you can get them with a small head like this, which is a 8 socket, and you can get them with a large head, which is a number 10 socket. Both the same threads. They're probably 6/100s. The issue is the size of the head interferes with the center bolt, which holds the pulley to the crank, and you can't get a socket on there easily. I actually, if I'm taking one off that has the number 10, I use a 1/4" drive socket, and that works rather well. But I also, every time I'm in pick apart, if I see one with the smaller heads, I collect them. So that's very important. So essentially, that's the deal with this. I'll take it all the way off. And it comes off the keyway like that. And that's it. Step is to remove the lower pulley. And that's the one that actually drives the timing belt. This you'd only do if you're tearing things down or if the keyway is shot or something like that. What I do is I take a Bernzomatic torch, very simple, and I heat it up, and I'm lucky I've got a impact wrench that'll do, it's actually electrical Milwaukee, that'll do 450 foot-pounds. And what I will do is I'll actually snug this a little. If I have any trouble taking it off, I'll snug it a little and then take it off. And it usually breaks off, breaks free pretty easily. Hopefully it doesn't break off. With the heat, which is probably 2 or 3 minutes of heat, it's sufficient to burn out the whatever kind of retaining glue they used, some sort of light Loctite product that's mentioned in the manual. Once you've taken that off, this bolt comes out rather easily. Fine thread. And there's your keyway exposed. And there's a ring behind it, which is slightly concave, and it's sort of basically obvious there's a pattern on it, which side it goes on. But if you might want to record this just in case you don't remember when you go to put it back together. You might want to write down that it's concave in a note or something. Next, we're going to take off the water pump. It's pretty simple. There's 2 nuts on here. Again, I've taken everything off just about. There's 2 nuts and 4 bolts, and they're all the same size, so you don't have to worry about what order you did things in, that sort of thing. It's got a gasket, and here's the inside of the water pump. It's kind of nasty. I'm surprised because if you look at it, it's kind of shiny out here. It looks almost new. Compared with the rest of the engine, this part was filthy, or the engine was filthy compared with this. So that's essentially removing the water pump. Okay, the last thing we're going to do is remove the head at this point in time. I've already loosened this pulley, again with my super Milwaukee impact wrench. And I've also taken all the bolts out, but one I left in here. And what I would say would be, when you're taking these bolts out, you need to either need an impact wrench or you need to have a really stable stand, because they are on there, and even though they aren't torqued that much, they certainly are hard to get off. And again, I found that number one, you have to use a 6-point socket. If you use a 12-point socket, you're liable to round the bolt off or just waste your tools. They fit nice and tight. It's a 14 millimeter socket, and you can take the bolts out that way. I also followed that rule where I actually would tighten it a little sometimes, and I think you can safely do that with this engine. I know you certainly couldn't do that with the bottom end of an Acura, but I know you can tighten these up because I've done it before and I haven't had a problem, although I always have the head skimmed a little bit before I put things back together. That's essentially it. We'll see if we can lift this guy off, which I know I can because I had it off before. It's got some lining. You can see I cleaned it up a little bit. It has a couple of lining pins or sleeves on either side. Nothing more to it than that. That's taking the head off. The gasket's all loose on this thing and it's filthy, and it appears that everything was okay. No leaks, nothing like that, nothing odd about it.